First half, 32 points in the paint, 22-7 rebounds, and then when you look at the final box score, a lot of it is a lot more normal, I would say. Obviously, points in the paint was still a little. I mean, what are you really seeing is going on? Because it's another game where it was a big hole. You guys outscore them in the second half, but the hole's too big at that point. I mean, is it the same thing each time, or are you seeing something different each game?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think today it wasn't, a 15-2 at the 4-minute mark. It wasn't a 17-3 at the 4-minute mark. I think today was more of, they're a good basketball team. They come in here ready to play. I think, there's a respect. There's a healthy respect for our program now. Those guys are ready to play. They know they got to come in here and play well to beat Air Force. And I think they were ready to do that. And I don't know if it's our guys learning that and knowing that besides our own preparation, like their own knowing of that. But I thought it was just the first 16 minutes where it was a collective thing tonight, over 16 minutes. It wasn't something right off the bat. And like I said to our guys in the last 4-minute timeout, I said, listen, we got to learn what we have to do to get the game to be played the way we need it to be played for us to win the game. Like the pace of the game, the way we need the game to be played, and the first 16 minutes wasn't. Part of that is we weren't finishing plays. So as we weren't finishing plays, they're getting some they're feeling good about coming down the court and playing the way they like to play transition-wise. And then they're obviously a very good offensive team, and as they're doing that, they do certain things schematically, like baseline cuts when guys are driving and run behinds. And, well, they got some of them because of that. And as they got the transition a little bit and some of that a little bit, then it came down to individual one-on-one defense. And like I told you, well, they felt good about themselves. The game's being played the way they like it to be played. And then those individual guys in the first 16 minutes did put the ball in the basket on us. The last 4 minutes and then the whole second half, it changed. We made the game be played the way we need it to be played. And we got to learn that's every game. We got to do that every game. You got to do that every game all the time. That's what's up for grabs all the time. How's this game going to be played? Is it going to be played the way we want it to be played, or is it going to be played the way you want it to be played? And, I think it was a little bit more of that. Give them credit for, again, getting it that way for themselves the first 16 minutes. And we got to learn how, okay, you can't do it for 24 minutes. You know what I mean? And you got to do it all the time. But I think it was a little different. It was 9-5 at the first 4-minute mark. But they just kept stretching it out, sort of the nature of the way the game was being played in their favor. And that's what we got to learn from it. One, okay, 3 league games in, we've played the hardest league schedule in terms of opponents. Tonight was, they're 22. San Diego State's, they're 23. San Diego State's 22. Nevada's 53. Every team we've played is undefeated. They're 35-8 overall. Okay, is that a good thing? I don't know. Is it a bad thing? I don't know. What I know is we've played some really hard teams right off the bat. Nothing's won in January. Nobody's won a league in January. Nobody wins a league after three games. Nothing's won in January. And I know what happened to us last year in February and March, when February and March came. So can these 3 games really teach us a lot as we take a little, get a little bye here, regroup a little bit, have some time to practice ourselves, and then head in for the next challenge, next Tuesday, and then it'll be Saturday. But sort of just knowing it's one game at a time, but really knowing what we're playing for and what this league season's really all about for us, so that we make sure we continue to, grow and develop. And then last thing is, like I told our guys, right now, I honestly, it's nothing technical. It's not the X's and the O's moving around anymore. It's who is the X and who is the O, and who's their X and who's their O. And we're shrinking the gap, right? But you know what? You got to shrink the gap for all 40 minutes. You got to really understand what's required. I think we've learned a lot in that area over these first 3 games.
Each of the 3 games you've kind of brought up, it's like the opposing team is kind of reaching their comfort level. They're reaching that zone. How much do you feel like age affects dictation, as far as how hard is it for a Corbin to dictate and make it his game, or a Jake or an Ethan? How hard can that be for young players to dictate a game?
Well, that's called experience, you know what I mean? And the experience is mental, the experience is physical. There's a physical strength element to that experience. There's a mental strength to that experience. They obviously have it, you know, way more than we do. You know, there's games played. There's just your age, you know. It's the mind and the body. There's no question about that, you know. And you could just see in Corbin tonight, you know, like, okay, here it is again. I don't see, you know, the fire or whatever, but I saw it in the second half. You know what I mean? And what we need to have happen is he's got to do that right off the bat, because when he does that, we're getting what we need from him, and then Bo comes in and we're getting what we need from Bo. You know, and you get that both in the beginning of the games, you get it throughout the half, you get that in the second half. Well, that's what we need. So I think that's a big part of it, and that's where it's not just a Corbin thing, you know what I mean? It's really, like I said, it's us knowing how we have to play, like how we have to get that game. To your question, like they know how they have to get the game. Well, they've played a lot more college games than we have, you know what I mean? And they've won games, a lot more games than we have. Okay, those are the facts. We got to understand that, and we got to get better at what we're talking about right now, because that's how you sort of make the progress required to then, you know, flip the script a little bit, and that's what we're working to do. And I'm hopeful that that's what sort of these 3 games have taught us. You know, the higher level of competition. It's not going to, every team we play is going to be good, but these teams might be some of the better ones in the team. The higher level you play, the more you can really learn if you care a lot. You know, if you're really tough, if you're really up for the challenge. And like I told the guys, I know I'm up for the challenge. I mean, I can't wait. You know, and hopefully that's the way our guys are looking at, you know, these first 3 games. Even though we haven't got the result we want, can we use it to sort of move us forward? You know, and last thing I said was, you know, you don't, like I said it before, you don't get your self-worth from a result. You get your self-worth from your work ethic, from your discipline, from how much you care. And can these 3 games sort of raise us in those areas? Then these 3 games will have helped us a lot.
Last one. How do you see the balance of, because I noticed it's like Corbin after 3 minutes, you pulled him, put Bo in. Reed picks up his 3rd foul, you leave him in. How do you see the balance of benching a guy for, you know, that experience, that knowledge, and keeping him? How do you see that balance, and can it be determined player to player too?
Yeah, I think it's earned. I think it's earned at all times. You know, it's called who are you? How do you play? What's your experience? You know, what do you bring? And as you go through a college career, you know, coaching-wise, you sort of know who that guy is and what he brings to the table. That guy knows who he is and what he brings to the table, you know. And some guys in certain situations, you know, and again, it's sometimes an age thing, you know. Certain guys can start off not so good, but they have such good experience and they've been through so much that they know how to get themselves going. There's guys that know how to play with 2 fouls. There's other guys that don't know how to play with 2 fouls, and a lot of it is just sort of learned experience, and then it's a coaching thing to know, well, okay, that guy knows how to do those things. You know, I'm willing to take a shot with that guy's earned that, you know. And that's another thing that makes a team be a team, is having everybody evolve that way, but everybody sort of comes along at different times in that direction. But that's why everybody's so important, just in growing that way, so that, like we've talked about, so that we have more options.
Ethan, it's kind of 3 straight conference games now where it's like there's a big hole from the beginning, and then you guys kind of outplay them the rest of the game. I mean, what do you think needs to change for that to flop to, okay, we're playing a full 40 and we can actually show what we can do?
I think it just it starts with motivation. You know, we got to play with some confidence, some drive at the beginning of the games. Not have to dig so much of a hole and then let that motivate us. We should just start the game off strong and play the best we can from the jump, because, like you said, that's been the reason for a lot of these losses, is just slow starts.
You had a really hot start last year, your freshman year, and then kind of defenses shifted. You kind of had a struggle towards the end. What are you telling some of those freshmen to maybe avoid that own struggle of their own? Because a guy like Corbin, he seems to be going through a little bit of that right now. How are you trying to help them with that?
You know, they got to just stay out of their own heads. You know, a lot of times it was frustrating for me last year. I know guys start scouting you more, like they shift up the defenses. You got to stay true to your game, trust your teammates, because with our offense, we're going to get each other open, and we'll help each other make plays. So you guys just wait for your moment, try not to force it, and just stay out of your own head, because I know that's something I did last year.
What were some of the positives you kind of can take out of this one?
I mean, I think in that second half we showed like the type of team we could be. A lot of different guys scoring, offensive rebounds, getting stops. So yeah, I mean, we made shots, played great defense. We just got to just do that in the first half as well. We looked like a good team in the second half. I know they were frustrated a little bit, the other team, and scared a little bit in the second half. Us coming back. So just things like that we got to just duplicate in the first half.
So Ritas tonight foul out, but you really seem to be kind of that spark that the team really needed tonight. How comfortable are you starting to feel in this system? Because it seems like from game one to now, you've kind of reached a different plane as a player. How comfortable are you feeling?
I mean, I'm being comfortable because my teammates were running our offense. Coach, he's telling us to run the offense, and I'm just getting my drives to the basket from the offense. And when I take it to the basket, they let me shoot it. And so today I got a 3. But I just need to continue that in the second half, because in the first half I continued. I thought I did pretty well, but in the second half we played good as a team. But I think we need to play like that in the first half too.
I think there was a moment in the second half. I think I saw Camden and Corbin kind of talking with you. I think it was an out-of-bounds play, and they were kind of chatting with you. How are some of these guys across the team maybe trying to help you even take that next step in kind of your progression as a player?
They're just telling me to stay in my own lane, relax. I missed a couple free throws, and I was kind of frustrated, and run the offense. And in the second half, we obviously ran the offense way better. In the first half, our defense was way better, and they're just telling me to keep my head up and just keep pushing.
How hard can it be to balance? Because you're obviously a very aggressive player. Tonight, it resulted in fouling out, but that's not really something that's hurt you so far this year. How do you balance that as a player, that unique aggression, but also making sure you're on the floor for your team? How do you balance that?
I just got to be smart with the way I play. I had a couple dumb fouls at the beginning, and which weren't really needed, and it came down to the end where I got that another foul and it took me out. But I thought the team played really well anyway, and we made that great comeback, and hopefully we can do that next game.
What's the hardest part about starting at a double-digit deficit? Because at one point it was 21 tonight. What's the hardest part about climbing out of that hole?
It's hard because you go on a run, 9-0 run, and you're still down 12, and it's like, man, and then they go on their own run. It's just basketball. The game of basketball is all about runs, and you get a run, they get a run, and you just got to win the first 4 minutes and the last 4 minutes. I think those are the most important.